Last week, Richard Haynes spoke to Joe Pride about the racecourse success of Parfore's progeny. So we thought it was fitting to visit the exceptional broodmare at her Cambridge base. Wentwood Grange's Dean Hawkins spoke to Kiwi Bred about the mare's impeccable breeding record. Parfore was a 7-year-old mare when she was purchased at the Karaka Mixed Broodmare sale back in 2004. Australian horse enthusiast Mike Ryan secured her for $30,000 on the advice of bloodstock agent Paul Willits. What was her initial appeal?
Paul Willits found the mare and rang up Mike and advised him to try and buy the horse. Mike then rang around a few friends of his. One was Mike Moran, who works at Windsor Park, who had worked for David Hall at the time. When she was in work and knew that she had an immense amount of ability, she won her first race by 4 lengths and only had the 4 starts. So on Paul Willits' advice, he decided to go down and try and buy her, and the rest is history.
How did she come to be based here at Wentwood Grange?
Mike had been a client for a few years here, and he had 2 mares that he wanted to send over and go to DARCI BRAHMA. So that's how they both her and a friend came over and lived here, foaled down, and went and foaled at DARCI BRAHMA, and EI broke out, and so she stayed here for the extra year, went to Captain Rio and carried on from there.
Due to the equine influenza outbreak in Australia, Parfore remained in New Zealand and was sent to be covered by Captain Rio. How did that mating come about?
The full sister to her, Nishani, had bred the champion 2-year-old Il Quale Veloce, and he obviously liked Captain Rio as well, the European form, so that's why we bred he bred Terravista.
If you go back to her Group 1 winners, Tiger Tease and Super Easy, what was it behind Mike's decision to send the mare to their respective sires, DUBAWI and DARCI BRAHMA?
DUBAWI, he'd been in England at the time that DUBAWI was racing and watched him race, and just an incredible racehorse, loved the wet tracks and just didn't see out the Derby after starting hot favourite there. He was a very lightly raced horse, and that bred him to breed to DUBAWI when he shuttled down. And DARCI BRAHMA was at the yearling sales when he was sold, and absolutely fell in love with him then and followed his career throughout.
Parfore's been covered twice by DUBAWI to produce Tiger Tease and Ball of Muscle. Terravista's also from the Joe Pride stable. All of them have picked up very useful races, and they look likely to go on with it. What will they do for Parfore's profile?
As long as they continue to win, she's probably a little bit like, she hasn't got the profile that she deserves. She's done an incredible job with 4 stakes winners, 2 Group 1 winners, and they've been in 2 different countries. So hopefully they'll continue, and she might get the recognition that she deserves.
Her yearling Zabeel colt's just been broken in New Zealand, but he won't be staying here, will he?
No, he'll go over and be trained by Peter and Paul Snowden at this stage. He was a little bit weak as a yearling, so we've just decided to give him that little bit extra time in New Zealand. He'll get the spring grass and then he'll go over there.
Parfore's due to foal a full brother or sister any day now to Super Easy. What propelled Mike to send Parfore back to DARCI BRAHMA?
Well, he brought her over to New Zealand just to go to Zabeel to hopefully get a filly. Then when he got the colt, we had a few complications and she couldn't be bred that year. So then, because of her health, she stayed in New Zealand for an extra 12 months, and then he decided to breed her to DARCI BRAHMA on the back of Super Easy, and because Zabeel was no longer serving.
We understand Mike's been keen to send her to Fastnet Rock. Which stallion will she go to this year?
She's booked into Rip Van Winkle on the back of his amazing start that he's had up north, and then he will go from there. He just wanted to get the healthy foal out of Parfore after the issues that we had with the last foaling, and get her back being healthy again.
Dean, how does her owner Mike Ryan make his mating decisions? What are they based on?
He follows the racing all over the world, and he just likes to go to good race horses, and that's where you get DUBAWI, Rip Van Winkle, DARCI BRAHMA. They're all good race horses, but they had to have shown a little bit at 2, and that's what led him to breed DARCI BRAHMA, because he was one of the very few New Zealand trained 2-year-olds that have ever won a Group 1 in Australia at 2.
Parfore's not the first Gold Bros mare from Wentwood Grange to produce winners, but she's been the most consistent. What does she pass on to her offspring that make them so good?
She leaves that strength, and you can see that in Super Easy, Tiger Tease. They've all got an incredible amount of muscle coming through from the Gold Bros side of things.
Parfore's geldings have been very prominent at the racetrack, but she also has 2 daughters now at stud, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's got one mare by Generous called In3, who's had a couple of DARCI Brahmas and is in foal to O'Reilly, which, because Parfore is a full sister to Golden Sparkle, who is also the dam of Moshe, she's in foal to O'Reilly to get that cross back into the family. And the other one is a mare called Frustrating, which Mike Ryan bred, sold as a yearling to Patinack, and through the Patinack dispersal last year was bought by Coolmore for $450,000, and she's currently in foal to Fastnet Rock.
Dean, there have been a few concerns around Parfore's health in recent months. How is the mare?
Yeah, the last 12 months she's looking amazing. It was just foaling the Zabeel colt. She became very sick, and we was touch and go there. The Cambridge Equine Hospital did an amazing job in saving her life, and the staff here worked through the night and for weeks trying to get her back to health. And last year she made a full recovery, but it was decided she'd stay here, go to DARCI, and the last 12 months have been amazing.
Parfore's now the proud mother of a full sister to Super Easy, with a DARCI Brahma filly at foot. Well, thanks to International Animal Health Products, we bring you this week's Pedigree of the Week, last season's New Zealand Oaks winner, Miss Mossman.
It was quite the 3 weeks for Australia's vinery stud stallion Mossman. There is perhaps no better advertisement for a sire than a Golden Slipper winner, and the James McDonald ridden Moss Fun did just that for the Success Express stallion in April. But just to show his versatility, 3 weeks earlier, the Kiwi Bred Miss Mossman had her sire's name in lights at Trentham when she ran her rivals ragged under Jonathan Parks in the Group 1 New Zealand Oaks. Moss Fun already had the likes of Buffering flying his flag, but the John Sargent and Hayden Allen trained Miss Mossman was a breakthrough classic win. Out of the Danehill mare Dane Promise, Miss Mossman was bred by Westbury stud owner Jerry Harvey, whose influence on the New Zealand breeding scene has been both rapid and immense. Miss Mossman isn't the first classic winner from her female family, as Ivory's Irish, a brother to her granddam Best Promise, won the 1995 Group 1 Australian Derby at Randwick. Other black-type wins in the family have been rare. Miss Mossman is bred 4x5 to Northern Dancer on her dam side, though gets her sex balancing to that sire by going 1 generation further back on the top half of her pedigree. Following the relocation of trainer John Sargent from Matamata to Sydney, Miss Mossman has joined the Matamata stable of Lance O'Sullivan and Andrew Scott for her 4-year-old season. This week's Pedigree of the Week is proudly brought to you by International Animal Health Products.
Well, that brings us to the end of another show. Join us next week when we're in the Wairarapa to find out more about the breeding of last season's most consistent stakes performer, Viadana. And we introduce former Hong Kong galloper Sweet Orange in his new role at Highview Stud. I'll see you then.